I'm going to go over my gap and go trades for the week of March 11th through the 15th, and I will also quickly give you a gap recap from the week of March 4th through the 8th. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is NIO. We ended the week at $5.80, up 0.52%. This is where we are. To the north side at 2 standard deviations and resistance and a potential take profit area, 604 above that. 614, and at another level of resistance, 625. To the south side takes us to support and a potential buy-in area, 560, 549, and 538. Looking left, note here, the bounce when we fell all the way down to $4.80. This was off of earnings. We reported 2.409 billion and the estimate was 2.558 billion, and we did not make it, so we flushed down and people bought the dip. Now, there is a gap to the south side that you still need to be aware of because we have not closed it out at 470. I've been tracking this one for quite some time. We touched it, but not quite there, and it goes way back. But note again, the bounce at support down here, sell off at resistance, bounce at support, sell off at resistance. This gap closed to the upside at 578. This one to the downside at 545. So there were two simple trades within this past week if you were playing the gaps. And then I'm still tracking this gap to the upside. That takes us to $7.16. And that has been in play for quite some time now, since January 16th. On to the next ticker. That is SOFI. I'm in that one as well. For me, actually, and for my mom. Okay, we ended the week at 771, up 3.21%. This is where we are. To the north side takes us to resistance at 789. Ignore the horizontal lines. That represents my buy-in areas and my sell areas. And let me give you that again. 805 roughly and 820. For resistance, and this gap opened up this week. That is not the original gap that I was tracking. That will begin at roughly 820. I do not expect it to close out on Monday. There is no way this is going to gap out to the upside. It possibly could start this gap fill, but it won't close it. Right, and this gap closed out on Monday, right out of the gate. Delete that. This gap closed out as well as that gap. This one closed to the downside at roughly 802, and I've been tracking these gaps as well. You can check out my other videos. And I'm combining the gap recap for the week because they get long and people don't have time to watch two videos, I find. So it's just faster to do it this way, to combine both. And note the bounce at, the bounce at support, sell off at resistance here. And SOFI tanked this past week also because they made an announcement that they were offering convertible senior notes by raising $750 million, and bam, the stock fell and got bought right back up. See if you play patterns. Here is the classic W for you, and then get out. Oops. I need to get to the next one now. Oh, let me check really quickly. Do I have any other gaps that I'm tracking to the downside? No. All right, next one is RIVN. We ended the week Darn, that thing is just not working for me here. Let's see if I can clear that out. There we go. We ended the week at 1278, up 2.16%. We are close to support here. Excuse me, the middle of the trend. And from down here, this actually is resistance at 1295. So expect a battle right along this line. And to the north side of that, 1371, 1411, and 1447. You can see this gap opened up. We went up and then closed down as well the same day on Thursday. And then this was another opportunity. Let me clean that up. Got wonky on me. That touched right about there. And that would have taken us down to 1261, and then we hit this line, support from where we are. If we're up here, this turns into support and then bounce off of support. And there's a gap that I'm tracking to the north side, not there, not in the zone just yet, but that will take us out to 1533. We've started it, but couldn't quite complete the gap. And I'm not tracking any gaps to the south side, so that's good. Note this one closed out as well at 1140. Oh, and we have another gap right here. Not in the zone, not in the channel. Will take us to 1778. TSLY. We ended the week at 1591, down basically 1.5%. This is where we are. I'll give you some levels for Monday. To the north side, resistance, 1636, 1668, and $17. To the south side at support, 1573, another level of support, 1510, 1480, 1448, many levels in between as well. And there is another gap to be aware of now that opened up last week. All right. Started at resistance. We fell down, so I will anticipate a gap up. Change this to green. Oops. To green. That is not the right one. Oops. There we go. So we gap down, and when it fills, when and if it fills, it'll be 1642. But we are in a downward channel right now, so we have not corrected. All right, and then this gap here closed out. But before I draw that one in, there was another gap. We flushed to the south side, so it will close to the north side whenever it closes. It could be fast or it could be painfully slow because we are going down. Now this one touched right here, so no longer a threat to our counts to the downside, but then obviously we went down even more and bounced off of support. This line turned into support, and then we cracked again. Now I am still tracking this gap. Many gaps to the upside, but that's way down the road. We are not in that channel, not in the zone, and it looks like there's a baby gap right here. Just a small one, but something to look forward to whenever we correct. And to the south side, oh yes, my chart disappeared on me, so I have not gone back to look at all the gaps to the south side. I will eventually do that at some point, but at least just play the deviations and you'll make your way down. Obviously, we're not going to get down to this level. And if we do, it would be just a wick and then buy in. And then I will anticipate a bounce off of that. So it will not stay down at -4 if it goes to that level. It will get it will get eaten up and then go to the north side. People will buy it up, I should say. All right, on this one, Pfizer. I'm also in this one still. 27.37 for my mom. 27.97. 28.28. 28.58. And there's a gap that takes us to 30.34. Not in the zone, not in the channel, something to look forward to as we slowly make our way up. To the south side, support 26.77. Oh, sorry, 26.76-ish, 77, 26.47, and 26.16. Okay, and that is it. No gaps I'm tracking to the downside. This gap is still in play, so you can expect that whenever we start to head back down. But right now we are in an upward channel, thank goodness. And that gap takes us up to 27.77 roughly. The next one, Exelon. We are at the middle of the trend. I will anticipate price to stick around this area with bumps up and down. 37.71, 37.48, 37.66 to the south side. 36.63, 36.45, and 36.29. Now for your gap recap. This one closed to the upside. Started at 36.43, so that's done. Closed out at 36.63, and this one closed out of the gate on Monday as well, done 35.75, but let me be a little bit more precise. It's right about there. Okay, but we do have a gap to be aware of at 34.75, but right now we are in an upward channel, and this one opened up this past week. We gapped up, so I will anticipate a gap down, right? Let me switch the color. And we did fill it on Thursday, and that took us down to 36.72. We went up for a bounce. Excuse me. We bounced up, sold off back down to support, and then this one takes us to 37.90 to the north side. All right. This one is Altria Group. Ended the week at 41.87, up 0.77%. Ignored the horizontal lines. That's previous support and resistance before we fell. And now we're finally making our way back up. 42.30, 43.10, 43.48, and 43.88. Where is, oh, look at this. So the only gap I'm tracking takes us right here. And I definitely think we could close this out on Monday at 42.20. I've been tracking it for quite some time. Look at the gap recap here, all the way back. Oops, what happened there? I think, oh, there we go. Yeah. Been tracking it for quite some time. And this is the last one to the upside that I've called out, and all the other ones have played out. All right. And then we reported good earnings here too. But we are right here. So let me give you prices. Did I give you prices to the north side? I think I did. Oh yeah, because I went up, pulled my chart up. But to the south side, 41.48, 41.10, and 40.71. So as I have mentioned in the past, price tends to grind along the baseline, the middle of the trend. And if we follow that right now, because we are in an upward channel, this will gap up and close out. And if it hits up, this will act as resistance here. But if we go past resistance and get up to this line, there will be a sell-off. As people take their profits and they run, they will lock in and they will leave. And then they obviously the cycle will repeat itself. But the 1 year price target is 46.16. So lots of potential to the upside according to the analysts. The next one is Intel. I'm going to try to hurry here. This video is getting long. Okay, we are at support. I do anticipate a bounce, but right now the RSI is still turning down. So while I anticipate a bounce, we will still correct to the south side and then bounce from there. But we need to rip off the Band-Aid and close out both of these gaps. Let's talk about the gap recap first here. Let me do this. The 11th, my little line is missing right here. All right, so this gap and this gap down to 42.01. What happened here? Oh, that's just, what is that? Oh, that's an old, is that an old? I'll fix that one. I'm not sure what that one is. Oh, I think, did I sell? I'm not sure now. All right, I'll take a deeper dive into that. But this gap closed out this past week at 45.56. Got too many lines here. It looks sloppy. Let me just move a couple of these. Oh, yes, that's what that is. This is a gap at 45.39 and closes out at 49.50. Let me just extend it. That's what I need to do. And I'm just going to delete this because we've already touched it, so I don't need to track that anymore. But this closes out at 49.50, and then this one closes out at 50.18. There we go. You know what? I'm going to delete this line because I don't need that. Again, that's old support and resistance. And I know what it's for, but it does make my chart look messy, even though I know exactly what it stands for. All right, $44 is where we are. Support, resistance, middle of the trend and the baseline, and a potential take profit area, 45.73. 47.55, 48.48, and let me move this down, 49.42, and then that gap closure we can look forward to. We are finally in an upward channel, yay. This thing has whipped us around. The 1 year price target is 45. Now to the south side, this is one of my buy-in areas for my moms. Unfortunately, we're tanking back down that way, but hopefully, fingers crossed, this week we start to rocket. 43.89, this gap closes down at 43.10. 42.96, this gap lines up with -4 standard deviations, roughly 42.01. All right, that's it. Schlumberger. Okay, here are your price targets. To the north side, resistance, 50.70, 51.24, 51.49, and 51.78. To the south side, I need to get this lined up, 50.17, 49.92, and roughly 49.63. So for your gap recap, this gap is still in play, taking us down to 48.42. Note the bounce here at support, 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 support. This little baby gap opened and closed, so that was one opportunity to play. And then this big gapper right here takes us up to 53.03. BABA, 73.55, up 1.39%. To the north side, 71.81, 75.57, and 76.35. To the south side, support, 73.27, 71.74, 70.98, 70.22. Okay, now for your gap recap. This gap, still in play, not in the channel, not in the zone, takes us to 78.46. This gap, not in the channel, not in the zone, takes us to, the closure takes us to 78.09. I know this is getting confusing here. There are many gaps within the gaps, okay? And this one, that one is at 78, sorry, 78.12-ish. And then this one is 77.70. Okay. And then, so those are still in play. And what happened here? This gap touched right there. So that gap is no longer a threat to us. We've completed that cycle. This one touched at 71.04. We did go down, but then we went back up as well. All right, so let's look at this one. Wait, let's just go to this one. This touched right there, done at 73.67-ish. This one still in play for the following week here. Now this one, all right, from the week prior, we touched right here. Okay, so that is done, 71.63, boom. Okay, and then this one, this nasty one right here, is still in play. That will take us down to 68.63. And what is this one? Why is that in red? And I don't have it boxed out, so I'm going to delete that. Okay. This gap, we gapped up, so I anticipate it to gap down, right, for the closure, and it touched right here. So that is done. No longer a threat to our account. Other ones may become a threat, but that one's done. And then this one touched right here, so we are done with that one too. So many gaps to the south side because we bled out with BABA. I'm in this trade as well. So we're starting to go up. So these gaps to the south side are still a threat to us. It's unfortunate we just didn't tank and just be done with it. Instead, they're psyching us out and we're going up. And so this will haunt us later. Now, as far as the gaps to the north side, if you go back, look at this. I've tracked this a gazillion times. Many opportunities to trade this to the upside and to the downside with these gaps. All right. So I've tracked out these gaps. This one, why is that? Something has happened here. Why is that marked there? Unless it's a price point, I'm just going to delete it. Okay, this one, I'm just going to delete that out. I'll fix that later, but that's from extending it out. So those are all relevant. This gap finished as well. Oops. Let me clean that up. Where did it go? Oh, okay, that finished and that finished. Nope, this one is the one that needs to be extended and finished. All right, let's go to Nike. Well, let me move this out of the way. Those are just price points I'm tracking. All right, to the north side, resistance, 99.37, 99.89, and $100.36. We ended the week at 99.16, up nearly 1%. To the south side, 98.38, 97.40, 96.90, 96.67. Now for your recap, this gap opened up this week and closed out. We gapped up, touched down right there at roughly 98.36, but that's not the gap I was originally tracking. This just happened to open up and is a quick play if you, again, like to follow the gaps. And that one closed to the upside. The probability with the gaps lining up with the linear just makes a stronger trade, in my opinion. Is that? Oh yeah, this is the one, the big daddy right here that I'm tracking to 122.40. Seems like it will never close, but one day eventually will. We are slightly going upward and no gaps to the south side that I'm tracking. Apple is the next one. All right, I'll give you some price targets first. To the middle of the trend takes us to, that one needs, never mind. 171.34. We ended up at 170.73, up 1.02%. Resistance here, 173.24, 174.20, and 175.16. Okay, to the south side, 169.43, 168.43, and 167.48. Now, for your gap recap, this is still in play at 164.19. This one is still in play as well. And that takes us down to 160.31-ish. Note the bounce at support, 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 and then sell off at resistance, and then sell off at resistance. RSI going down, so I anticipate this to possibly get to this line if we follow the RSI down. That's just support and resistance for me as well. And this gap is still in play at 175.01, and this one at 179.61, and this one at roughly 186.93. All right. Finally, the last one, Boeing. We ended the week at 198.49, down 2.24%. To the north side is resistance at -2 standard deviations, 199.93. Another level of resistance and take profit area, 201.46, 203.61, 204.74, 205.81, I think I saw. Yeah. Now, -3 standard deviations, 198.28 and 197.13. All right, now for your gap recap. This mother right here takes us down all the way to 186.95. This one is still in play as well as, Command Z if you are using a Mac like I am. Oops, that's just too tight. I need to move this out of my way. Okay, there we go. And this one closed out of the gate on Monday the 4th there. And I didn't delete that, so let me get rid of that. All right, and to the upside, we've got this nice one and this one. And I think that's it, yeah. All right, that is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of March 11th through the 15th. And I added your gap recap in this video as well. And I think I will do that from here on out just to make one video to make it easier for people to look at in one fell swoop. Thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic trading week.